Hey everyone, welcome back. And today I want to talk about how identity manipulation traps us in ideology over our heart's desire. So when we say identity, we're referring to the collection of characteristics, beliefs, experiences, and affiliations that define who a person is, both to themselves and in the eyes of others. In the context of identity manipulation, identity often emphasizes social categories, e.g. race and gender, that carry collective narratives of power dynamics. These can overshadow personal identity, pressuring individuals to conform to group expectations rather than their heart's unique desires. Billy Carson writes, complex psyops don't typically consist of a single narrative. They involve both a primary narrative and a counter-narrative. People smart enough to resist the primary narrative will often gravitate towards the counter-narrative that is waiting to receive them. In fact, they will chuckle derisively at those who can't see through the primary narrative, all while being totally captured up themselves in the equally inorganic counter-narrative. Both narratives are run by the same people and constitute a well-crafted dialectical construct of roughly equally weighted narratives deliberately placed in tension with one another. The schemes designed by those in power then move forward as the proponents of fake narratives expend energy fighting and blaming each other. Identity manipulation puts people into categories like blue or red, black or white. Each category comes with built-in rules on how to think, act, and feel. If you belong to a certain group, you might have to support specific political views or cultural habits, even if those views don't match your own life goals. And this can create conflict, where the group story takes over the individual one. And people can end up following what the group says instead of what they really want, stopping self-growth because group loyalty comes first. You set up camp, you get stuck there. Stuck defending an identity instead of pursuing your own path. In the 1960s, the FBI's COINTELPRO program used this exact tactic against civil rights groups. COINTELPRO, or Counterintelligence Program, was a series of covert and illegal projects conducted by the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation from 1956 to 1971, aimed at surveilling, infiltrating, discrediting, and disrupting American political organizations perceived as subversive, including the Black Panther Party, the American Indian Movement. An obvious example today would be the fake patriot group, Patriot Front. The FBI's actions, which violated constitutional rights to freedom of speech and association, were later exposed and condemned by the Senate's Church Committee. Belonging to a group gives validation, but straying from its rules brings fear of rejection. Your sense of self is tied to the group. Leaving its lines means being called a traitor. And this pressure can make people suppress their own needs to avoid being labeled disloyal. Identity manipulation pushes for approval from outside sources more than inner truth. Social media likes and shares reward those who follow group lines, building a loop where people act out of the ideology for attention, not for their own reasons. The heart's desires get pushed down under ego-driven stuff. And this focus on external praise can lead to a cycle where people perform for likes, ignoring what they truly want. And over time, disconnects them from their own voice. When identity categories control how people interact, real connection suffers. People become stand-ins for their group, not individuals with their own dreams. And this leads to fake alliances or fake fights based on labels, replacing the heart's need for honest relationships with group roles. Imagine two neighbors who could be friends but instead argue over group differences, missing out on a shared interest like gardening. This pattern deepens divides, where people focus on defending their label rather than building trust, leaving them more isolated despite being linked by a shared cause. And so, to get out of this trap, we need self-awareness and action. We need to question the group stories we follow and check if they match our inner desires. As we grow and mature emotionally, less and less should ever truly define us. We learn to address each moment as it is, or as we wish it, rather than how we're told it needs to be or how it's predetermined to be. Seek to hear your heart's voice over the noise. Does this label make me defend something that doesn't feel like me? Does it keep me separate, or does it create connection? And by seeing how these tactics divide and control us, we gain the power to see clearly where our true selves want differently than the identity we're conforming to fit. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you next time.